Hello everybody, Lindsay here. I am down at seeing the guys here building a bonfire here. How awesome is this? Yeah.
No locations given.
It's absolutely amazing. It looks so cool. But anyway, Freedom Dad, of course, is here with me. Right, the big subject at the minute, Freedom Dad. The big thing going on at the minute is the flags. Right, guys, so let's just discuss the flags for a little minute. You know, yes, of course it was amazing seeing the flags together. Absolutely brilliant. We loved it. All the rest of it is great. And we proved a point to the world, and, you know, the politicians seen it. But, guys, our politicians aren't coming to save us. We're not here to prove a point to those guys. We're here to protect our future generations. And, you know, I'm willing to make the decisions, hard decisions. Our necks are on the line. We're making these decisions. We're not here to prove a point to the politicians. We're here to get people out so that we can see what our strengths are. How can we serve each other? How can we come together as a community? And unfortunately, the flags are hindering that a little bit at the minute. So we want to try something new. Freedom Dad, tell me, what's your thoughts about it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's a really good idea on so many levels, you know what I mean? Because I've looked a wee bit deeper into it. And, the main thing is, obviously the flags have been a big issue in Northern Ireland, huge issue. We've had protests, we've had riots over flags, so they are a big issue, and we've got to recognise that. So big issues need to be addressed, and obviously Red Handed Ulsters and Union Jacks do put other people off in the community, and tricolours do put off people on the community, and that's just the world we lived in, you know what I mean? So what Lindsay's trying to do is I keep saying us because I'm really close to her. She's my friend, and I help any YouTubers out, and we're all family. So when I say we all the time, it's not we as in the Time to Rise demo, it's we as patriots, you know. The Time to Rise demo is Lindsay and Orla, and I'm Freedom Dad, simple as that. And but the thing about the flags is it goes a lot deeper than that, as far as I'm concerned, because of the far right rhetoric. And I've been bringing videos to sort of try and highlight about this far right thing. And like I've said in my videos, every demo around Great Britain and Ireland, as soon as there's flags there, the media are allowed to go with far right. They go far right anti-immigration or far right racist thugs, you know what I mean? And please believe me, I know you may think this is nuts, but see, whenever they have the optics of us standing there with our signs and maybe a Christian flags or whatever, and banners from different areas and no flags, they struggle to put that rhetoric out because they don't have the optics of all them flags, you know. And it sounds crazy, but this is the kind of tactics we now need to use as far as far right as well. Let's I can cover that, you know.
Yeah. And just to touch the things that are coming to my mind as we're talking here, do you know, the guys are fighting over the Northern Ireland flag at the minute. Our politicians are fighting over the Northern Ireland flag. I know this through competing in athletics myself. That I think it was to do with Rory or some of the guys. You know, they don't want to use the Northern Ireland flag in sport. They want to have a new different flag. And then I go to a council meeting the other week there, and they were voting over something, and I could clearly tell just these are all that on one side of the room and these are all that on the other side of the room, because I could tell by the way they were voting over something. So guys, these politicians, they're keeping this divide in us. They're keeping this divide, and they want us to have this divide with these flags. They're using the flags for keep a divide, and I don't want us to do the same. I want us to become neutral as concerned parents coming together. Yes, it's lovely that the communities are coming together as a byproduct of all of this, but that's not really what we're here for. We're here for the future generations and the safety, right? We always need to keep that at the forefront, is the safety of our women and children and our future generations. And I, for one, will do whatever possible, whether it's having a flag or not having a flag, I will do whatever's possible for that. And, you know, we're the ones here that are making these decisions, and they're tough, right? We're the ones that have our faces out there. I know. And, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I make a wrong decision, I will apologise. But there's a term that I learnt in the mindset world, and it's fail forward. Sometimes we'll do the right thing, sometimes we'll do the wrong thing, but we're willing to try anything to bring the people onto our streets, to show the government's going to get a lot of whack up their faces if we have more people on. They've seen the flags, it's done now. We're getting more people on the street, and we'll want to try this new and see whether it works or not. You know, so yeah.
just what you're saying about the flags. This is how nuts it is. You know what I mean? We've got politicians, we've got sports people. What flag do we use? And you know, and like I have to say, you know what I mean? The Ulster flag is our flag. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and that's the only flag I've known growing up, alongside the Union Jack or the Union flag, if you whatever you want to call it. But the thing is this just proves to you. This just proves to you guys how nuts this all is. The flags is a crazy situation, and it's just a situation that these girls don't want to bring to the demo. It's just a bit of politics that they could be doing without, you know, which is fair enough. You must give them this credit. One girl from Londonderry/Derry Catholic, and we've got Lindsay from Rathcoole Protestant. Come on, it's hard enough for them guys. It really is. Like, you know, I mean, I take my hat off to them, and you know, like I say, I do videos on what's in my head and what I see, and you know, like I say, I've been doing videos about the far right and how we need to start talking about the far right thing, you know.
Yeah, because the far right, it's not even mean anything anymore, right? I've been called far right before I even knew what far right was, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, these politicians, they want to sit and argue over that. That's not what we're about. We're about our women and children, and it has to be put at the forefront. You know, they want to keep us arguing about that. At the end of the day, this is Northern Ireland, right? You know, I know that we have two communities here, but this is still Northern Ireland. And you know, we're in this full time, guys. That's something else that I want to make clear. We are speaking to people. We're not just on TikTok or YouTube, right? That's a lot of people are on leaving negative comments or going against us for this and that and the rest of it.
We're on the street.
We're on the street,
going in the communities.
Yeah,
we're on the street, going in the communities, taking risks and taking chances. All of us are. You know, we get all this hate and all this flack thrown at us, and there is a lot of people just like hating. But you know, for you guys out there who do have a bit of sense about you, stop and think what these girls are doing and what I'm doing, what we're trying to do. Try and think 20, 30 heads, because this is what these girls are doing. They're thinking 20, 30 heads in the future. I know it's all right now, and you're all doing pretty well right now. Please believe me, when we are not here, our kids aren't going to be in the same situation, and she knows that.
Yeah, like I know, like I said before, I've studied ideologies. I've spent the last 4 to 5 years studying ideologies. It's what led me to this. I was a nice wee girl sitting in the house, going to my fancy job, driving my fancy cars, going on my nice lovely holidays, right? But this is so important to me because I understand what's going on. I am speaking to our communities day in, day out. I think a lot of people have get a bit carried away with TikTok and Facebook and thinking that's where life is now. It's not. It's not. Life's back in the communities. So maybe instead of leaving negative comments or doing this or that, do whatever you want, right? Quite frankly. But what I'm saying is,
we'll just block you.
You know, get into your communities, actually speak to people. Like, I was out with my wee nanny yesterday, and she's like, she always goes home and tells her husband, there's not a week that we don't go out where somebody doesn't stop me to say I love what you're doing. Now, I'm not telling you this to be big and brave or whatever. I'm telling you because I'm talking to people on the street that you maybe aren't seeing because you're online or you're seeing some video online. I'm literally people bumping into me every single day telling us that it's good at what we're doing. So we know everybody wants this. We know that we've got the communities. Yeah.
Small groups on the internet doesn't bother us. People sitting behind a keyboard, people that aren't getting out and don't really see what we see, and they're sitting in their leafy suburbs or whatever, pretending to be other people, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're on the street, we're seeing what's happening, we know what the people are saying, we know what's we're doing what the politicians should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we're going to get bigger. We are going to get bigger. We're going to get better. We're going to learn. Like I've said before, I will always own up to any mistakes I make. I am willing to learn. I am willing to grow. But I'm telling you now, we are going to get bigger. And we are going to save this wee country. And I want you all along for the ride. I really, really, truly want you all along because we need you. We need you. But we need to stop these petty arguments over things and just let us try. At this point, I'm willing to try anything to save our future generations.
Has anybody got better ideas? You know, this is the thing. A lot of people come out with crazy ideas and talking about going on the streets and we'll just do this and we'll do that. You know, we're not doing nothing. You know, let's be honest. The power multis have been trying to do things in this country for many years. We've been on the streets ranting and we've never gained an inch. We've been ranting about the flags. We've been ranting about Drumcree. We've been ranting about the Ormo Road. We've been ranting about, you know, the Good Friday Agreement. there's always been something, and the Catholic community have had their rats as well, and all we do is destroy our own areas. We don't gain an inch, we don't gain a yard, and all it is gives a far right rhetoric. It's like when people come out on the street and start being violent, that just destroys everything, and it allows the government to come in, bring people like us down, and start hitting YouTubers and TikTokers, and then we're silenced, and then you're never going to know what's going on. Nobody's going to, because you're not going to get it from Sky News, BBC News and Guardian. You're going to get it from Time to Rise demo, and that's the whole point of going there, is getting the information, what's going on in all the other communities. You do not know. Give them an idea of what kind of things that we hear from different communities. This is going on Ballymena for one, we've got Ballyholme, and then we've got all the stuff coming from Ireland. Let them know like how bad it is, how often we're getting stuff. We can't go on it because we don't, the police aren't giving any information, so we can't just throw stuff out there because we would get into trouble, you know?
Yeah. So it's every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? Our phones are full. It's got to the point now where I'm seeing things 3 or 4 times a day, and I don't want to be saying that all the time because it's hard, right? This is hard. This is not easy for us. We're not doing this to be big and brave. It's hard work. It's hard work seeing all the bad stuff all the time that's going on, and then seeing the people that you thought were supporting you turn against you, and we got to deal with all that, and we're here for it, right? I'll deal with it all because you got to understand our culture. I was remember, I know we're sitting beside a bonfire right now, guys. I used to go to the bonfire on the 11th night, right? I would have went to the 12th then. See, then August came. I would have been up raving, up in Ardown, right? For the.
I wouldn't.
I would have, right? It's the cultures are good. The 2 cultures definitely have some real positive stuff. The guys coming down here to build the bonfires, they're enjoying each other's crack. It's getting the kids out into the sunshine.
It's how our kids get out and socialise and gets them off the computers, and we try and get the children involved. It's difficult, but I think we should address some of the issues that you've had regarding the video I put out yesterday about Glen Kane from the Shankill, if that's what you want to talk about. That a bit of flack from that.
Yes. Not so much. I wouldn't call it flack. I would just call it the guys just sort of seeing where we're at. So if you've seen the video from Glen Kane, he done amazing. He done absolutely amazing. And so what they were saying is, that a lot of people can perceive him, and I'm going to go back to this far right flipping.
Be honest.
It's far right.
Be honest. You got to be one. Just tell. We got to talk about the issues. We need to not thingy about. We need to be transparent. We need to talk about any issues that people think, far right or anything. We need to get it out there. We're sick of the far right, and we need to discuss it. So do you want me to discuss the video, or what do you want to ask me questions about it?
Well, so I didn't know exactly who he was, so I tried to find out who he was, and I got a good response. Now, don't get me wrong.
He's a good lad.
I got a good. The lads that I spoke to told me he's a good lad, and that they really like him. They really, really do like him. But they had just, now this is not what these guys said that I was speaking to, but they had heard rumours that he was too far right, that he was involved in organisations that were completely against anybody that didn't have white skin. Now, I don't believe that to be true. Can you answer?
Well, it depends what you call far right. This is what I mean. We have to address far right. So Glenn was a member of the BNP back in the day, and I've addressed that in my videos. The National Front and the BNP were in loyalist communities since I was able to walk. You know what I mean? And I've addressed this in my videos. I've spoke about it because I've got over 500 videos, and I talk about my experience in Northern Ireland growing up in Belfast. And one of them stories was the National Front and people like that coming into our areas. And we just seen the flags and the Union Jacks and everything on the Ulster and just thought it was another 12th of July thing as young guys, you know what I mean? But let's be honest, right? So we talk about far right, BNP and all these other people, and what is far right? This is a question you've got to ask. What is far right? These guys love the community and they want to look after the community. We look at every country around the world, and we don't even need to look that far. We just need to look into like Leicester, Birmingham, and Oldham, places like that, and we see communities that are like predominantly Muslim. And then we got predominantly Indian, like Sikhs and that. So there's nobody bats an eyelid. We've got Black Lives Matter. We've got black people like Joshua, the boxer, telling people not to buy from white, but buy from only black stores. And we're still banging on about the far right. And we've got all these different black organisations that do not allow any whites into them. That nobody bats an eyelid about. But as soon as somebody had any connection with the BNP back in the day, he's far right. But let's address that, the BNP and all the rest of it. How many people in our past have been called far right? And today, when we look at them back, and we look back at them, all I see is people that were right. You know, at the end of the day, these people have been telling us many years ago what's coming, you know, and like yous, I was probably like yous, you know, that's racist, far right, you know, that's what the government are saying, that's what everybody says, it's all far right. Tommy Robinson, he's just far right, you know. So we need to look at these things closely, we need to address it, and that's what we're doing. And like when Stormy came over here and called us all far right and called us all racist and then flew back to England, I went and got Tony Martin, the leader of the National Front, on my platform to find out who the far right are, because if we're being labelled far right for doing these demos, we need to find out who the far right are. And I still haven't really been satisfied who the true far right are, because like Tony Martin and the National Front, yes, they're whites only, but you know, they've got as many policies as Labour would have and any left-wing politicians, you know. Their argument is what's wrong with having a community that just want to represent themselves, you know. And this is another thing you've got to understand. This is what's driving this far-right thing. We were a nation many years ago. In Northern Ireland, we had communities that were just Catholic. We had communities that were just Protestant, you know, and that's how we governed ourselves. You know, Ireland were Irish, and that's how they governed themselves. And, you know, there was never any talk about far right, but now there's diversity. We've got diversity, you see now. We've got people from all walks of life. So, you know, we can no longer say, oh, we just want to look after our own people. We've now got to look after everybody else. We've got to look after all the other religions, you know. So if it's far right to just want to look after your own community, then I'll take that. I'll take that all day long, because I want to look after my own community, because my own community is being let down because we're too busy looking after everybody else's community. And when we try to complain about that because of diversity, we're far right. So when you hear anybody being called far right, you've got to question it, you know. Yeah. Everybody makes mistakes. We all go down paths that we weren't meant to go down, and we through peer pressure or whatever else. The bottom line is, Glenn Keane is not a racist. Okay, Glenn Keane was a loyalist prisoner, and there was loyalist prisoners. There was a loyalist prisoner on the yard with us that was black. My doctor was black. We've all known black people. We don't even think about racism. We don't look at the colour of anybody's skin. It's not, that's never been an issue here, you know. And I've spoke personally to him, and he's not far right, and he's not a racist. He just loves his own people.
Thank you for explaining that, and totally agree with you. So another wee query that I got about it was that he was talking about, you know, that back in the day, you know, he was proud of the boys, if you want to call it, you know, and he loved the boys and all the rest of it. So when I watched the video, what I picked up on that was the same feeling that I had. The boys looked after us, and I know a lot of people don't want to believe this, but when you grew up in the 80s and the 90s in these areas, you didn't go to the cops. Okay, the boys sorted things out. So they were as us young people, they were our protectors. Okay, so we did sort of look up to them. And I know other people that aren't in our country may not understand that. But that's what I picked up from him whenever he was talking about this. Other people that watched the video picked up and thought to themselves, oh, this is going to put people from the Catholic religion off coming down to us. And I explained, I went, no, well, I bet you that the Catholic guys found the same about their boys as well, you know, that they maybe didn't go to the cops, they went to the boys instead. So it's that similarity that I want us to see from what Glenn had said. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, it's like some give all, some give some give none, you know, and we want to remember those that give all. It's as simple as that, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean we're far right or sectarian or anything else. This is our areas. We, like I say, we leave it in our areas and we come to Belfast as parents, as grandparents, fathers, uncles, brothers, sisters, all the rest of it, you know what I mean? You know, this is what we've been brought up with. All we're saying is, you know, don't slate us for it. This is all we know. This is our life. We've been born and bred in Shankill. We're born and bred in South Belfast. Born and bred in Rathcoole. You know what I mean? And these were some hardcore loyalist areas. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. And you know, maybe in the future, maybe our kids will feel differently about it. You know, but that's in the future for our kids to deal with. You know, right now we're finding that going forward right now in the direction we're going, as a community's trying to come together, as concerned parents to save our children, to save what we know, to save our bonfires, both communities, to save everything that we know, both Catholics and Protestants. That's what it's all about. And the whole rhetoric, you know what I mean, the whole rhetoric about he supports this and supports that. He's a father. He's a father, and you should be grateful to these men, because these men are going to give a lot more than you realise, because we've got experience of all this, and we're not, like I say, we're going forward with Catholics. We're not. There's Catholics coming to our bonfires. You know what I mean? Quite a lot of our bonfires, not all, won't be burning tricolours. You know what I mean, this year. And you know, at the end of the day, you've got to understand that we're not in that 70s, 80s, 90s era. You know, we haven't got bombs going off and our pubs getting shot up, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So times are changing, so people need to change. Just because some of our guys, and like me, can't just leave the past behind and forget about the men that gave all, just like the Catholic side, the Republican side, you know, like they've just put a statue up of Bobby Sands for a play. You know what I mean? A hunger striker give everything. No problem with that at all. But don't come into our areas and take our memorials away and take our murals down when it looks like you're, you know, behaving a different way towards others, because it's just going to cause division. And I think that's what they're up to, like, because we're doing so well, bring communities together.
Of course, it is exactly what our politicians want. You know, our politicians want to keep this divide, right? You know, you guys are coming to me and you're saying, oh, taking the flags down, you know, that's just bowing down to our politicians. You're not understanding that our politicians don't mind that, because they know by keeping those two flags together in the middle of Belfast that we're not going to get the numbers. So they're actually quite happy with us doing that. That's why we want to get the numbers in by taking these flags away, right? I cannot express enough how important it is. I get that there was hurt in the past. I understand that. I really, really, truly do. And I get that there's a lot to have to move forward from. But we're going to have our country taken off as our country is being invaded from the inside. And until we come together as a neutral and united front together.
Can I just say, like, I know it sounds a bit extreme. It's going to start raining, so we're going to wrap it. I know it sounds it's a bit extreme being invaded, but you got to understand, we've had over 1,000 men come in one day, fighting AIDS men, coming in to England illegally. So it does look like an invasion.
Yeah, it is. And like I say, I've studied the ideologies, guys. These guys are coming from these countries where they are programmed that we're all infidels, and they want to take over the West.
The majority. Like, there is some good ones in there, but we can't tell the difference.
No,
you know what I mean?
it's the extremists there, and then they get more radicalised here or in our jails. And you know, we have studied all this. We can see what's happening. So come and join us on the 21st of June, 2 p.m. We'll have cracking speakers. Yes, we're asking for no flags, but we are going to have a few tricks up our sleeves where we are going to bring the cultures in. So we're not going to tell you what it is. You just have to come and see it.
Can I just say as well, I want to get this clear. I'm Freedom Dad. I'm Freedom Dad. I stand on my own. I do my own things. I support every YouTuber and every TikToker and anybody. I've been doing demos for a long time in England and Scotland and following lots of speakers. I'm a speaker, and that's why I'm connected with, because she's organising a demo, so of course I'm having a speaker, I'm going to be connected there. But all my stuff is my own work, and it's got nothing to do with Time to Rise. I want to make that very clear.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much. Absolute pleasure as always. Thank you, Freedom Dad.
No problem.
Appreciate you.
Anytime.
Thank you.